So I was asking that everybody could be here today to go through this most important lesson that I'm sure some of you may already have been privy to, but may not have gotten the scriptures. So give me one second. So today we're going to get understanding through the scriptures about when the days actually begin. When the days actually begin. And we're going to get some understanding about the Sabbath as well. I'm going to ask that if you can, write your questions down. Please write your questions down. If you have questions, please write them down. Because I want to give complete understanding. I want everybody to have complete understanding. Any question, any confusion, I want you to please write it down. Save it to the end so that we can address any and every question.
And we definitely would ask if you would just have an open mind.
It's about understanding. We're going to definitely, it's going to be clear. Trust me. It's definitely going to be clear. But like I said, if there are any questions, any concerns, I just ask that you hold them to the end, write them down so you don't forget them, hold them to the end, and then they can be addressed, each and every one. So this is I don't consider it a touchy subject. I really don't. But it has been a touchy subject amongst us because it was kind of like it sparked a chain of events that kind of led to the split that we had. So it was kind of like the I don't know if it was the beginning or the last straw or what exactly it was, but these we're gonna allow the scriptures to speak for themselves. I'm not gonna put no extra spin on it, and you're gonna see clearly. We're gonna go through different events throughout the scriptures. We're gonna go through the law. We're gonna go through the creation, and we're gonna also go through some history and some tradition concerning the scriptures. And we're gonna get understanding on this subject. Like I said, any and all questions, please hold them to the end, and they will be addressed. So, if you have a Strong's Concordance, y'all know I'm going into the Strong. I'm going to go into the Josephus and pull out a couple things. And the thing that I like to do the thing that I like to do when I study a subject, especially when it's something that may not be the norm, right? Is you got to study both sides, right? If somebody hit you to something or they pull your coat to something and they give you one side, it's not for you to just run with that and say, well, this has got to be it. So you got to study both sides of the argument. So I'm going to address the when the days begin from a morning to morning perspective, and I'm going to address the scriptures that's used to combat that understanding as well, because this, like I said, it's something that I studied for quite some time, and it was, kind of we didn't want it to go forth so quickly, but finally, I was given the green light by the brethren to go ahead and bring it to everybody. So let's start in the beginning, and we're gonna start with Genesis 1:1. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 1.
Genesis chapter 1 and verse 1. In the beginning, the Most High created the Shamayim and the earth.
Go ahead.
And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of the Most High moved upon the face of the waters.
Okay, so in the beginning, the Most High created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and there was darkness upon the face of the earth. Go ahead.
And the Most High said, let there be light. And there was light. And the Most High saw the light, that it was good.
And the Most High saw the light, that it was good. Go ahead.
And the Most High divided the light from the darkness.
And the Most High divided the light from the darkness. Go ahead.
And the Most High called the light day, and the darkness he called night.
So we have two portions of a 24-hour day right there. The Most High called the light day, and he called the darkness night, right? Go ahead.
And the evening and the morning were the first day.
Okay. And the evening and the morning were the first day. So this is like Israelite one-on-one, so to speak. When you first come into the understanding of the Jewish Israelite, this is one of the things that they push. And the evening and the morning was the first day. So that is the reason why we all came from the perspective that days begin in the evening, right? From that right there. However, there is a complete mistranslation right here. Read verse 5 again.
Verse 5. And the Most High called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day.
Okay. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Okay. So that and before the evening, and that word and before the morning. Grab H1961 out of the Strong's Concordance.
H1961.
So this is that word and is derived from this word. Go ahead.
Hayah.
Hayah. We familiar with Hayah, right? Okay. What does Hayah mean?
To exist. Be.
To be.
Or become.
Or become. Now, read it on out.
Come to pass.
Or come to pass. That's good right there. So we understand that the word Hayah is a verb meaning to exist or to be or to become, depending on the form. The form that means to become is this word right here. It's pronounced Wayahi. It's derived from this verb, Hayah. Y prefix meaning and, right? Wayahi. It means and became. So when you read that Genesis 1 and 5, read it again, and instead of saying and, use and became.
Genesis 1 and 5. And the Most High called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning.
No. And it became.
And it became the evening and the morning.
No. And it became the evening and it became the morning. Because it's there twice.
And it became the evening and it became the morning.
Finish it off.
Verse 6.
No, just finish it off.
Were the first day.
Okay. So it became the evening and it became the morning. Now, I don't want to get too deep off into this Hebrew. But the fact that they only put and in there, and the evening and the morning, it does this verse a great disservice, because this word here, and it became, is embedded right there in that and. Go to Genesis 2 and 7 and read it.
Genesis 2 and 7. And Yahuwah power formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life.
Okay, so he breathed into it. This is a sequence of events. He formed man out of the dust of the ground, right? And he breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. Go ahead.
And man became.
And man what?
Became.
Now that word right there, and man became, is this same word. Why do they translate it as became in one portion, and the other portion they just translated as and? Now we're going to read the same Genesis 1 and verse 5 out of the Hallelujah scriptures.
Genesis 1 and 5 from the Hallelujah. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there came to be evening.
And there came to be. Another way of saying came to be is became, right? And there came to be evening. Read.
And there came to be morning. Day one.
And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning. Day one. That's it right there. So if it came to be evening, what did it have to be before it became evening? Day. What comes before the evening? You got day, you got night. Before the day is the morning. And after the day is the evening, right? So if it came to be evening, it had to be daytime. I'm going to show you how, if you keep reading the sequence of events, which we're going to do, how this becomes more clear. Read verse 6. Or keep reading from verse 6. Just keep reading.
And hallelujah?
No. You can read it, whichever. It don't matter.
All right. In KJV, verse 6. And the Most High said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters.
So we already understand it. In verse 5 was the end of day 1, right? When it says that was the first day. So that's the end of day 1. Keep going.
And the Most High said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And the Most High made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament.
So the Most High is working, right? He dividing the waters from the waters. He making the Shamayim, dividing it from the waters. Go ahead.
And the firmament, and it was so. And the Most High called the firmament Shamayim, and the evening and the morning were the second day.
And it came to be evening, and it came to be morning. So he divided the waters from the waters, and he called the firmament Shamayim. And it became evening, and it became morning. Day 2. Notice it's a sequence of events that's taking place here. But the fact that it's translated improperly in the King James Version, it gives us a bad understanding. Now, if it was translated properly, read the same thing in the Hallelujah scriptures.
Verse 6. And Elohim said, let an expansion come to be in the midst of the waters.
That expansion is the firmament. Go ahead.
And let it separate the waters from the waters. And Elohim made the expanse, and separated the waters which were under the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse.
Okay, so he separated the waters that's on the earth, talking about the ocean, seas, and lakes, from the waters that's in the sky, talking about that's in the clouds, right? The firmament. Continue.
And it came to be so. And Elohim called the expansion Shamayim, and there came to be evening, and there came to be morning the second day.
So if it came to be evening, that means that when the Most High is doing all of his work, he's doing it during the daytime. It would have to be, because there's a sequence of events. And just to make this clear, let's go to, let's grab Genesis chapter 2 and verse 1.
Genesis chapter 2 and verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, the Most High ended his works, which he had made.
On the 6th day at evening.
On the seventh day.
Not on the 6th day at evening?
On the seventh day.
Okay.
The Most High ended his works, which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his works, which he had made.
Now we're dealing with the Sabbath right here. We're not going to go too deep into this right now. We're going to go back into the Sabbath to get way more understanding on it toward the end. But I want to show you the sequence of events as the Most High is creating. He created during the daytime, and then there came to be evening, and then there came to be morning. That was the end of the day. Now we're going to hit a bunch of scriptures that's going to expound on this understanding. Just because I don't want you to take my word for it. I want the scriptures to speak for themselves. So let's go to Judges chapter 19 and verse 8.
Judges chapter 19 and verse 8. And he arose early in the morning on the 5th day to depart, And the damsel's father said, Comfort thine heart, I pray thee. And they tarried until afternoon.
And they tarried until afternoon. Go ahead.
And they did eat both of them. And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant and his father-in-law, the damsel's father, said unto him, Behold, now the day draweth toward evening.
So when they finished eating, they was about to get ready to leave, right? It was already afternoon. And this is the father-in-law. He's like, look, the day is drawn toward the evening. Go ahead.
I pray you, tarry all night.
I want you to stay and wait all night. Go ahead.
Behold, the day groweth to an end.
So when he says the day groweth toward evening and the day groweth to an end, he's clearly talking about daylight. He's not talking about an entire day. That's why he restated the same thing before. Continue.
Lies here, that thine heart may be merry, and tomorrow.
And when?
Tomorrow, get you up early on your way.
So he's saying, look, tarry all night. Stay here and wait all night. And tomorrow, go ahead and leave and go on your way. So that's just showing you right there that when he's saying tomorrow early, he's speaking of the next day in the morning. But we're going to get more understanding. Let's go to Jonah chapter 4 and verse 5.
One moment.
Chapter 4 and verse 5.
Jonah chapter 4 and verse 5. So Jonah went out of the city.
Now we understand that the city was Nineveh. Because that's where the Most High sent them to prophesy in Nineveh. Go ahead.
And sat on the east side of the city. And there made him a booth. And sat under it in the shadow, till he might see what would become of the city.
Okay, so if he made himself a booth, we understand what a booth is, right? Like a covering or a tent, right? And it says that he made himself a booth and sat under it in the shadow. Now, in order for this booth to cast a shadow, what did it have to be? It had to be daytime, right? Okay, continue.
And Yahuwah power prepared a gourd and made it come up over Jonah, that it might be a shadow over his head.
There we go again, the word shadow. So the Most High provided this gourd so there might be a shadow over his head to protect him from the sun. Once again, in order for this gourd to cast a shadow, it had to be daylight. Continue.
To deliver him from his grief. So Jonah was exceeding glad of the gourd. But the Most High prepared a worm when the morning rose the next day.
Not that evening?
The next day.
Continue.
And it smote the gourd that it withered.
Okay, so this worm he prepared to kill the gourd. It said that it came up early in the morning on the next day. When the morning rose on the next day. Let's get more understanding about the whole on the next day thing. Let's go to Numbers chapter 11 and verse 30. So in order for it to have to be the next day, it was day when the shadow was being cast. It was already day. So when the morning rose, and it calls it the next day, if the evening was the beginning of a new day, it would have been the same day as the evening prior, right? Let's go to Numbers chapter 11 and verse 30.
Numbers chapter 11 and verse 30. Zonah, Adullam.
No, Numbers.
Oh, I'm in Nehemiah. 12, right?
11 and 30.
Numbers chapter 11 and verse 30. And Moses gat him into the camp, he and the elders of Israel. And there went forth a wind from Yahuwah, and brought quails from the sea, and let them fall by the camp. as it were a day's journey on this side, as it were a day's journey on the other side, round about the camp. And it were 2 cubits high upon the face of the earth.
Okay, so there came quails, right? Because of this wind, there came all kind of quails into the camp of the people, right? Continue.
And the people stood up all that day.
All that day, the people stood up, gathering quails, right? Go ahead.
And all that night.
Wait a minute. So if the day and night were separated by the evening, right, and that was a new day, it couldn't have been that day and that night, right? It would have had to have been all that day and all the next evening, right? But let's see, keep going.
And the people stood up all that day and all that night and all the next day. And they gathered quails. He that gathered least gathered 10 homers.
That's good. But do you see the separation right there? That it says all that day and all that night. And then the next day they did it too. But notice how it made the separation after the night, not at the evening, right? To further the point, let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 11. First, I'm just going to hit a bunch of points that give clues throughout the scriptures. And then we're going to hit like individual circumstances to make this thing really crystal clear. 1 Samuel chapter 11 and verse 9.
First Samuel chapter 11 and verse 9. And they said unto the messenger that came, Thus shall ye say unto the men of Jabesh Gilead, Tomorrow, by that time the sun be hot, ye shall have help.
So tomorrow, when the sun be hot, now we already know the hottest time of the day when the sun is out is around what time? Around noon, right? So around that time when the sun be hot. So we're talking about daytime right here. So tomorrow, when the sun be hot, go ahead.
Tomorrow, by that time the sun be hot, ye shall have help. And the messenger came and shewed it to the men of Jabesh, and they were glad. Therefore the men of Jabesh said, Tomorrow we will come out unto you, and ye shall do with us all that seem good unto you. And it was so on the morrow.
On the what?
On the morrow. That Saul put the people in 3 companies, and they came into the midst of the host in the morning.
In the when?
In the morning.
So if it's equating the morning with the morrow, not the evening, right? It says that it happened in the morning, on the morrow, right? The next day. Continue.
Host in the morning watch, and slew the Ammonites until the heat of the day. And it came to pass that they which remained were scattered, so that 2 of them were not left together.
That's good. So they killed all of these men. This is around the time when Saul was being anointed as the king over Israel, right? So they slew all of these men. But notice what is putting together. There's no evening here on the morrow. It's morning and it's daytime when the sun be hot. It's all together as the beginning of a new day, thus calling it tomorrow. But let's get more understanding. Let's go to chapter 19, same book. Chapter 19 and verse 9.
First Samuel 19 and 9. And the evil spirit from Yahuwah was upon Saul, as he sat in his house with his javelin in his hand. And David played with his hand.
So David was sitting there playing the harp. And this evil spirit was tormenting Saul when he had this javelin, this spear in his hand, right? Go ahead.
And Saul sought to smite David even to the wall with the javelin.
So Saul was ready to throw this javelin at David and smite him right to the wall. Go ahead.
But he slipped away out of Saul's presence, and he smote the javelin into the wall. And David fled and escaped that night.
So David fled and escaped that night. Now, according to the evening to evening understanding, right? At the evening starts a new day. That night, we would have been in a new day, right? Yes? You understand? Yes? Okay, keep going.
Escaped that night. Saul also sent messengers unto David's house to watch him and to slay him in the morning.
To slay him in the morning. So from the understanding that we had, that morning would have still been part of the previous night and evening, right? Continue.
And Michal, David's wife, told him, saying, if thou save not thy life tonight.
So that same night when David slipped away, if you don't save your life tonight, what's going to happen?
Tomorrow.
When?
Tomorrow thou shalt be slain.
So when Saul sent his messengers, he told them to slay him when? In the morning, right?
Tomorrow.
So when David went home and his wife said, look, if you don't save your life tonight, tomorrow you gonna get killed. Now from the understanding that we had, if the evening began today, that means that evening, that night, that morning, and that next day would have all been one day. Yes? It's showing you the separation right here. If you don't save your life tonight, tomorrow, which we all understand that tomorrow is a new day, tomorrow you're going to get killed because Saul's messengers were supposed to smite him in the morning.
Exactly. I'm going to read it again. Saul also sent messengers unto David's house to watch him and to slay him in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, told him, saying, if thou save not thy life tonight, tomorrow thou shalt be slain.
Clear as day. A clear separation right there. But we're going to get more understanding. Let's go to the next chapter, chapter 20, and start at verse 5.
1 Samuel 20 and 5. And David said unto Jonathan, behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go, that I may hide myself in the field until the third day at even.
Until the third day, right? So he's saying tomorrow. We all know what the new moon is, right? What's the new moon? Anybody? First day of the month, right? Okay, so this clearly had to be the last day of the month. So when he says tomorrow is the new moon, or it's just the first day of the month, let me go and hide myself in the field until the third day. I want you to keep that in mind. Tomorrow is the first day of the month. Let me go and hide myself in the field until the third day, right? We got that locked in, right? Okay, let's jump down to verse 18.
Verse 18. Then Jonathan said to David, tomorrow is the new moon, and thou shalt be missed, because thy seat will be empty.
Okay, so this is all the same conversation, same time period. Like, yeah, behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I'm going to let you go hide yourself in the field. Jonathan is Saul's son, by the way, if y'all not familiar. Jonathan is Saul's son, but him and David was like this. It was tight. So he said, behold, tomorrow is the first day of the month. And your seat, you're going to be missed because your seat going to be empty. Continue.
And when thou hast stayed 3 days.
How long?
3 days.
That's what David requested, right? Let me go hide myself in the field until the third day. Go ahead.
Then thou shalt go down quickly and come to the place where thou didst hide thyself when the business was in hand, and shall remain by the stone Ezel. And I will shoot 3 arrows on the side thereof, as I shot at a mark. And behold, I will send a lad, saying, go, find out the arrow.
That's good right there. Let's jump down to verse 34. Now, the sequence of events that took place between when David had this conversation and verse 34 is David's seat was empty when they were supposed to sit with King Saul at dinner. King Saul was upset. Where is the son of Jesse? He must be unclean. Jonathan said, I gave him leave. I let him go. Something was going on in his hometown, so I let him leave. Saul got mad and was ready to fight, or, Jonathan. He was upset with his son, saying, don't you know that he was already been anointed to be the next king? And as long as he lived, you are never going to be king. So Saul was upset. So this is what happened after that. Go ahead, verse 34.
Verse 34. So Jonathan arose from the table in fierce anger, and did eat no meat the second day of the month.
Because this conversation between Saul and Jonathan didn't happen until the second day. The first day when Saul saw that David wasn't there, he was like, maybe he unclean. Maybe he went and dealt with his wife and he unclean, so he couldn't be here. So the second day, then Saul asked Jonathan, like, where's the son of Jesse? And he like, oh, well, I sent them away. So this was the second day. And they were sitting down at dinner. And Jonathan got up, upset, and didn't eat. He got up and left. Go ahead.
For he was grieved for David, because his father had done him shame. And it came to pass in the morning.
Okay, so we understand that time when they were sitting down at dinner was the night. They were supposed to be eating. Jonathan got up. He didn't eat, and he left. And it says, and it came to pass that in the morning, right? Go ahead.
That Jonathan went out into the field at that time appointed.
And he went out to the field when?
At that time appointed.
At that time appointed. What time did Jonathan and David appoint to meet each other? The third day, right? And when did he go out into the field? In the morning. So if the third day happened the evening prior, when it was this, you clearly say it was the second day. And it says that he went out into the field in the morning. The morning had to have been the start of the third day, because it went out in the time appointed, right? Okay, we're going to get more understanding. Let's go to Genesis 19. Right. They had appointed a time. Let's go to Genesis 19 and verse 23.
Genesis 19 and verse 23. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar.
So the sun was risen upon the earth. What do we call it when the sun rises upon the earth?
Morning.
Okay, continue. Just wanted to make sure y'all with me. Continue.
Then Yahuwah rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from Yahuwah out of Shamayim.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So we understand that this is when the Most High struck down Sodom and Gomorrah. It happened in the morning, this morning, and he told Lot and his family to get up out of there, right? Okay, jump down to verse 27.
Verse 27. And Abram got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before Yahuwah, and he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, toward all the land of the plain, and behold, lo, the smoke of the country went up, the smoke of a furnace.
Okay, so we understand that this is the same time that Lot was leaving out. Abraham was standing there watching Sodom and Gomorrah get destroyed. So just a little small lesson. It wasn't the fact that Lot's wife was looking at it. It was the fact that she looked back, right? Because Abraham was standing there watching it happen, right? And it tells you right there. Read that verse 27 again from the beginning.
Verse 27. And Abram got up early in the morning.
Got up early in the morning, right? So Abram got up early in the morning. So we understand that all this took place in that morning. Let's jump down to verse 30.
Verse 30. And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his two daughters with him. For he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, and he and his two daughters.
Okay, so Lot and his daughters went and they dwelt in a cave, right? When they left and went to Zoar, they dwelled in the cave. They stayed there. Remember, the daughters' husbands stayed behind in Sodom and Gomorrah. The mother turned around and looked back. So it was just Lot and his two daughters in this cave. Go ahead. Verse 31.
And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man, in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth.
So the firstborn said, Our father is old, and ain't no men left. They thought when Sodom and Gomorrah got destroyed, that it was everybody. It was a done deal for them. So they said, Our father is old, and ain't no more men left. Go ahead.
Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed for our father.
So it says, let's get him drunk, so we can make a preserve seed, right? Yeah, it was perverse too. Verse 33.
And they made their father drink wine that night.
They made their father do what?
Drink wine that night.
When did he do it?
That night.
That night. They made their father drink wine and did what?
And the firstborn went in and lay with her father. And he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass.
And it came to pass after that night, after they made him drink and got him drunk, he didn't know what took place. And it says, and it came to pass. What happened? What came to pass?
On the morrow.
On the what?
On the morrow.
On the next day. Now we understand. It was a night already. Right? Yeah. So it came to pass. On the morrow, what happened?
That the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight.
I lay yesternight. Right? Last night. It came to pass on the morrow, the next day. I was just with our father last night. Or yesternight. Read.
Let us make him drink wine this night.
Let's get him drunk again tonight. Go ahead.
And go you in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also.
That night also. Now notice the separation. If the evening began a day, when she went in that night, and that next day, when she was having this conversation with her sister, it wouldn't have been last night. It wouldn't have been yesterday. It would have been like tonight, because it was the night before, right? It would have been tonight. But she said, now you go this night, because that night belonged to that day, and the night before belonged to the day before. It's all one complete day. Go ahead.
And they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him. And he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. That's
good right there. Let's go to Exodus chapter 29 and verse 35. We're gonna read about these the sacrifices. We're gonna read about the sacrifices. Exodus 29 and 35. 35. 29 and 35.
Exodus chapter 29 and 35. And thus shalt thou do unto Aaron. And thus shalt thou do unto Aaron and his son, according to all. And thus shalt thou do unto Aaron and to his sons, according to the things which I command thee. 7 days shalt thou consecrate them.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt offer every day a bullock for a sin offering, for an atonement.
Okay, so for 7 days, every day I want you to offer a bullock for an atonement, for Aaron's sons, to consecrate them. Because Aaron's sons were who?
Priests, Levites.
Were the priests. Aaron's sons were the priests. His whole house was the priests. So for 7 days, I want you to offer a bullock in order to consecrate his sons. Continue.
And thou shalt offer every day a bullock for a sin offering for atonement. And thou shalt cleanse the altar when thou hast made an atonement for it. And thou shalt anoint it to sanctify it. 7 days thou shalt make an atonement for the altar and sanctify it. And it shall be an altar most kodesh. Whatsoever toucheth the altar shall be kodesh. Now this is that which thou shalt offer upon the altar: 2 lambs of the first year, day by day, continually.
Day by day, continually. I want you to offer 2 lambs every day, continually for 7 days. When should you offer them? Go ahead.
The 1 lamb thou shalt offer in the morning.
The 1 lamb you shall offer in the morning. Every day in the morning. Continue.
And the other lamb thou shalt offer at even. And with the 1 lamb, a 10th deal of flour mingled with 4 parts of an hin of beaten oil, and the 4th part of a hin of wine for a drink offering. And the other lamb thou shalt offer at even.
So the lamb you're going to offer in the evening, like I said, in the morning, day by day, we're going to offer 1 in the morning, every day. So this is the beginning of the sacrifice. You're going to offer it in the morning. And then the other lamb, go ahead.
And the other lamb thou shalt offer at even. And thou shalt do thereunto according to the meat offering of the morning, according to the drink offering thereof.
Okay, so you're going to offer it the same way you offered the first lamb in the morning, day by day. So this is just a sequence of events that follows the offering. And just to get more clarity on the offering, let's go to Leviticus chapter 7 and verse 11, the peace offering. Right, exactly. The evening one would have come first, and then the morning one, right? Okay, so you're going to offer a lamb in the evening, then when you wake up in the morning, you're going to offer another. No, you started in the morning, and then you're going to do the one in the evening the same way. Let's go to Leviticus 7 and verse 11. And it's going to become more and more clear as we go through these offerings. 7 and verse 11.
Leviticus 7:11. And this is the law of the sacrifice of peace offering, which he shall offer unto Yahuwah.
That's good. So this is the law. Just to get y'all to understanding, I always like to do that. This is the law of the peace offering. Let's read about the law of the peace offering. Jump down to verse 15.
Verse 15. And the flesh of the sacrifice of his peace offering for thanksgiving shall be eaten the same day.
The same day. Go ahead.
That it is offered. He shall not leave any of it until the morning.
Wait a minute. So if you got to eat it the same day, if you offer an offering in the morning and you got to eat it the same day, that give you a whole day to eat it, right? And you don't leave nothing of it until the morning, which would be the next day. How we know that? Let's keep reading when it's going to become more and more clear.
Verse 16. But if the sacrifice of his offering be a vow or a voluntary offering.
Now, if he's offering this offering voluntarily for something else, or because of a vow or something else, but it's a voluntary offering, read.
It shall be eaten the same day.
He's going to eat it the same day. Go ahead.
That he offer his sacrifice, and on the morrow also the remainder of it shall be eaten.
So he's going to eat it that same day, but now if it be this kind of offering, you can leave some until the next day. So he said until tomorrow. That's how you know the separation in the morning. He said leave nothing until morning. But with this particular sacrifice, you can eat it this same day and the morrow. So you can have some left over after morning. Keep going.
But the remainder of the flesh of the sacrifice on the third day shall be burnt with fire.
So you can eat it the first day that you sacrifice it. You can eat it the second day that you sacrifice it on the morrow, but on that third day, you got to burn it. You can't eat no more of it on the third day, which it shows clear that the separation happens at the morning. Clear as can be. Now, to get more understanding on that, we're going to look at the sacrifice of the Passover. Let's go to Exodus 12 and verse 6. Exodus 12, let's start at verse 3.
Exodus 12 and 3. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb.
Okay, so we understand the ordinance of the Passover. We done went over it many, many times. The first day of the first month, right? In the spring, right? So it says on the 10th day, you're going to pick you out a lamb of the first year without blemish. Let's go to verse 6.
Verse 6. And you shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month.
So you're going to keep this lamb that you pick out on the 10th day. You're going to keep it until the 14th day of the same month. Go ahead.
And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
So kill it between the evenings. We know that in the evening is improperly translated, and it should say between the evenings, right? Just for clarity on that, I want to grab something out of the Josephus just real quick. Wars of the Jews, chapter 6. No, book 6, chapter 9, section 3. Just real quick. To get clarity on that between the evenings, even though we done went through it a few times. That's book 6, chapter 9, section 3. It says, so these, and it's further down in the, right there at Division 423. It says, so these high priests, upon the coming of their feast, which is called the Passover, when they slay their sacrifices from the 9th hour until the 11th hour. That's what between the evenings mean. From the 9th hour of the day until the 11th hour. So when we read that in Exodus 12 and verse 6, it says you shall kill it between the evenings. That's what between the evenings meant. From the twilight to the dusk. It had 2 hours to slay to kill the sacrifice, right? So we gotta understand this is all taking place on the 14th day. You're gonna keep it until the 14th day, and you're gonna kill it between the evenings of the 14th day. Keep reading.
And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts, and on the upper door posts of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night.
The next night.
In that night.
In that same night of the 14th, you're going to eat the flesh. Read.
Roast with fire and unleavened bread and with bitter herbs, and they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sod it at all with water, but roast with fire.
Verse 10.
And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning.
Don't let nothing of it remain until the morning or the morrow or the next day. Same thing we just read. What's going to happen later when he put the law of sacrifice in place. What happened in Leviticus and what happened when they consecrated the sons of Aaron. Leave nothing of it until the morning. Go ahead.
And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. And that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire.
Verse 12.
Verse 12. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night.
Which night?
This night.
The 14th night. This same night. I'm going to pass through the land of Egypt. Go ahead.
And I will smite all the firstborns in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am Yahuwah.
Verse 14.
Verse 14. And this day.
And this day. The 14th day. Read.
And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast unto Yahuwah throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever.
Verse 29.
Verse 29. And it came to pass that at midnight Yahuwah smote all the firstborns in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captives that was in the dungeons, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night.
And Pharaoh rose up when?
In the night.
Pharaoh rose up in the night. Go ahead.
He and all his servants and all the Egyptians there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead.
So he came through and smote all the firstborns at midnight. And Pharaoh rose up in the night. And he called, and verse 31.
Verse 31. And he called for Moses and Aaron by night.
So it was still darkness. We got to understand, the night is darkness. It's still darkness. He called for Aaron and Moses in the night. Go ahead.
And said, rise up and get you forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go serve Yahuwah as ye have said.
Verse 34.
Verse 34. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, and their kneading troughs, being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses. And they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. And Yahuwah gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required. And they spoiled the Egyptians. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot. There were men besides children.
Okay, that's good right there. So, you have the sequence of events. You keep this lamb unto the 14th day. You kill it between the evenings. You roast it that night by fire. You eat it. Let nothing remain of it until morning. At midnight, the messenger came and smote all the firstborn of the children of the Egyptians, right? Of the cattle and everything. And then the Pharaoh came unto Moses by night, saying, "Hey, it's still darkness when all these things is happening." So the children of Israel gathered their stuff together. They went to the Egyptians. They borrowed all that they can borrow, all the gold and everything that they could borrow from, because the Most High gave favor. So you got to understand, this whole chain of events is happening on the 14th day and the 14th night. Get Numbers chapter 33 and verse 3. And so after everything happened, and they gathered all their things together, and they journeyed 600,000. Now, how many of us in this room? Okay. So besides, like the scriptures say, besides men and children. So it was just 600,000 men, correct? Just 600,000 men, right? So besides women and children, right? So who knows how many people, right? Plus the innumerable multitude. If I said, hey, let's get up and let's go into the parking lot, how long do you think it would take for all of us to gather our stuff together and move into the parking lot? Just the 40 or 50 of us here. It would probably take about 30 minutes before everybody got into the parking lot. So imagine 600,000 men, women, and children. Girl, come on! I gotta get my curler. You don't need to look. Let's go. We leaving. But son, and my son, y'all know my son. Son, come on. But that son, come on. I gotta tell him. So just imagine getting all of these people together, then going to the Egyptians. It's gonna take some time, right? Let's read Numbers 33 and 3.
Numbers chapter 33 and 3. And they departed from Ramses in the first month, on the 15th day of the first month.
When did it happen?
On the morrow.
On the what?
On the morrow.
After what?
After the Passover.
Clear as day. Everything that happened that night took time to happen. So by the time they finally gathered their stuff up and was ready to go, it was the following morning. And the scripture is clear in saying that they journeyed on the morrow after the Passover on the 15th day of the month. If it was evening of the 14th day, and that next day was still supposed to be the 14th day, it would have said 14th day right here. But it says the morrow after the Passover, which we know happened on the 14th day between the evenings. You roast it that night, it's still the 14th night. But that morrow would be the 15th. Otherwise, it would still say the 14th. But it doesn't. Like I said, clear as day. Crystal clear. Yep. Let's go. We're going to deal with Hamashiach. Let's go to Mark chapter 4 verse 1. Mark chapter 4 verse 1.
Mark 4 and 1. And he began again to teach by the seaside. And there was gathered unto him a great multitude, so that he entered into a ship and sat in the sea. And the whole multitude was by the sea on the land. And he taught them many things by parables, and said unto them in his doctrine.
Okay, let's go right there. So, how many of us have ever been on the sea at night? Anybody? Okay. What is it? Black in the mug. If you don't have the moon out there shining some light, it's completely dark. Now, if he is on a ship on the sea and it's dark, no street lights, all you got is the moon, would they be able to see him? Probably not. Probably not. So we understand it had to be daytime, right? Yes? Pretty clear? Okay. Let's jump down to verse 35.
Verse 35. And the same day.
So he's standing out there hitting them with all these parables all day. We read this. You can go back and read it. The parable of the sower and other parables that's right here. So in that same day, when
the evening was come.
When the evening was come. Now, It would have had to been the next day when the evening was come, right? If days begin in the evening, it would have had to been and the next day when evening was come, right? But it don't say that. It say the same day when evening was come, showing you that that day and that evening was all one day. Let's go to John. Matter of fact, we ain't gonna go there yet. Let's go to, we're gonna go to another day. John chapter 20 and verse 1. No, not I John. Regular John. John 20 and verse 1.
John chapter 20 and verse 1. The first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early when it was yet dark.
Okay, so we know those of us that work days, when you get up in the morning, it's still dark, right? Continue.
Unto the sepulchre, and seeth the stone taken away from the sepulchre. Then she runneth and cometh to Simon Peter, and to the other disciples, whom the Messiah loved, and saith unto them, They have taken away the Master out of the sepulchre, and we know not where they have laid him.
Okay, stop right there. So when we began this chapter, it says, And the first day of the week came Mary Magdalene, early, when it was still dark outside. So we understand, we in the first day of the week, right? It's early in the morning. Jump down to verse 19.
Verse 19. Then the same day at evening, being the first day of the week.
So it's evening again, and it's still the first day of the week. It wouldn't have had to been the second day if it was evening, right? Right? But it's clear that it was the same day when evening was coming. It tell you it was still the first day of the week. Showing you that the days don't change when the evening comes in. Clear as can be. Now, like I said, I'm not expounding. I don't really have to expound on these scriptures. They clear. Let's go to Matthew 28 and verse 1. Huh? Read that one again. John 20 and 19. Verse 19. Okay, I'm going to read John 20 and 19. Okay, verse 1. And then, so it says, verse 1. And on one of the Shabbat, which means on the first day of the week, Miriam Magdalene came to the tomb in the morning, when it was still dim, and saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. Verse 19. When therefore it was evening on that day, one of Shabbat, or the first day of the week, and when the doors were shut, where the Talmudim met. So it's pretty much the same thing. But it's telling you on the day one of the week, on one of Shabbat, or the first day of the week, but like I said in verse 1, when it was still dim, meaning that it wasn't quite light yet. It was still darkness, right? Like same way it is when we wake up in the morning. Let's go to Matthew 28 and verse 1.
Matthew chapter 28 and verse 1. In the end of the Sabbath.
In the what?
In the end of the Sabbath. As it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre.
As it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, at the end of the seventh day of the week, right? As it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, clear as can be. Let's go to Mark 16 and 1. We're going to drive a nail through this one. Mark 16 and verse 1.
Mark 16 and 1. And when the Sabbath was past.
And when what?
And when the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene and Mary the mother of James and Salmon had brought sweet spices that they might come and anoint him.
So the Sabbath was over. They brought the spices so they could anoint the body of the Mashiach, right? Read.
And very early in the morning, the first day of the week, they came into the sepulchre at the rising of the sun.
At the what?
At the rising of the sun.
Clear as day. Very early in the morning, first day of the week, rising of the sun. What else you need to show you that it was morning? The sun was rising. It was early. It's clear as can be. Now I want to deal with the Sabbath. Let's go to Genesis chapter 1 and verse 31. We're gonna go back. I'll mention 1 and 5, like we was going through the whole sequence. And it became evening and it became morning. Now that we can see clearly that the separation happens with the morning and not with the evening, we're going to go back and deal with the Shabbat.
Genesis chapter 1 and verse 31. And the Most High saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day.
So it became the evening and it became the morning. That was the sixth day. Now, from the understanding that we had, on the sixth day at evening, what should it have been? Should have been Sabbath, right? The Most High did nothing here. He didn't separate anything. He didn't bless anything. He didn't do anything right here. And we're going to get deeper into this. But he didn't do anything right here. Read chapter 2 and verse 1.
Chapter 2 and verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished.
Okay, so the heavens and the earth was finished. What happened?
And all the host of them. And on the seventh day.
On the seventh what?
On the seventh day, the Most High ended his works which he had made. And he rested on the seventh day from all his works which he had made. And the Most High blessed the seventh day.
The sixth evening.
The seventh day.
The seventh evening.
The seventh day.
Keep going.
And sanctified it, because that in he had rested from all his works which the Most High had created and made.
So the Most High rested on the seventh day. Now, this just alludes more, not even allude, this just show you more how everything every day of that creation week when he was doing his work, it had to be daytime, because that next day he ended all his work and he rested that day. Now, he set forth the ordinance right there. 6 days you gonna work. When we read every week, get Exodus chapter 20. We read every week. 6 days shalt thou labor, but on the seventh day you shall rest, right? It shall be a Shabbat, right? Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it Kodesh. 6 days shall you labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Shabbat of Yahuwah your El. In it you shall not do any work, you nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maid.
That's good right there. So we understand that the Most High laid the ordinance down. They're gonna get more understand, because you can say, well, it's the whole seven. He talking about the whole seventh day, right? We're gonna get understanding on that. Let's go to John chapter 9 and verse 4.
John chapter 9 and verse 4. I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day.
No, so this is the Most High, this is the Mashiach using a similitude, a parable, right? So I must work while it is yet day. Read.
The night cometh,
because night is coming,
when no man can work,
because nobody works at night. Let's get Psalms 104 and verse 19.
Psalms 104 and 19. He appointed the moon for seasons. The sun knoweth his goings down.
That's what anybody who think the moon ain't. Okay. Let's go.
Thou makest darkness, and it is night, wherein all the beasts of the forest do creep
When do
forth.
all the beasts of the forest creep forth?
Thou makest darkness, and it is night.
And it is night. When the darkness, it is night. And all of the beasts creep forth, right? Keep going.
Wherein all of the beasts of the forest do creep forth. The young lion roareth after their prey, and seeketh their meat from the Most High. The sun arises.
Then the sun comes out, and what happens?
They gather themselves together.
Talking about the beasts, they gather themselves together, and then what?
And they lay them down in their dens.
And they go to their dens, and they lay themselves down when the sun rises, right? And then what?
Man goeth forth unto his work.
And then that's when men come out and do their work, when the sun rises. Keep going.
And his labor until the evening.
Until when?
Until the evening.
So if the Most High set forth the ordinance in the creation, right? And he gave the ordinance to us with the commandments, right? And then he just laid it down right here. That's when men go forth when the sun rises and do their work until the evening. So if that's the ordinance, when do you need rest from work? If you're supposed to work in the day, when do you need rest from work? In the day. You're going to rest from work in the day because at night you're resting anyway. You know what I'm saying? At night you're going to rest anyway. So when he gave us rest of the Sabbath, he gave it to us during the day because 6 days shall you labor, and on the 7th day you rest. Oh, it's clear as day. You go to work when the sun come out. When the evening come, you go home. You're done working. Until the 7th day. When the sun come out, you don't even go to work. You just chill. You rest. You give everything unto the Most High that day, right? Okay.
What does Sabbath mean?
Sabbath means rest, to rest from work. Now, I'm going to go to this scripture right here in Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 19. Because this is one that comes from the understanding that people use to combat the days begin in the daytime and that the Sabbath begins with the rising of the sun rather than the setting of the sun. So we're going to address this because I don't want to leave them no stone unturned. We got to address everything. So Nehemiah 13 and 19.
Nehemiah chapter 13 and 19. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut.
Read it again.
And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut, and charged that they should not be opened till after the Sabbath. And some of my servants sat at the gates, that there should no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. Okay,
so right here he's saying, when it began to be dark, I commanded that the gates be closed before the Sabbath. So it say right here that the Sabbath had to start when it began to be dark, right? But I'm going to show y'all. This came about through tradition. It came about through tradition. Now, first off, let's jump back and go to Nehemiah, the 7th chapter, which we understand that this stuff is happening in sequential order. So the events that took place in the 7th chapter happened before what took place in the 13th chapter. So let's go to chapter 7 and verse 1.
Nehemiah chapter 7 and verse 1. Now it came to pass, when the wall was built, and I had set upon the door, and the porters, and the singers, and the Levites were appointed.
Okay, so we understand that at this point in time, Babylon had been conquered by the Persians, right? And the children of Israel was allowed to come back into Jerusalem, and they rebuilt the wall of the city in Jerusalem, right? That's what he's talking about, when the wall was being rebuilt. Go ahead.
That I gave my brother Hananiah, and Hananiah, the ruler of the palace, charge over Jerusalem, for he was a faithful man and feared the Most High above many.
So I gave my brother charge, right? Go ahead.
And I said unto them, let not the gates of Jerusalem be open until the sun be hot.
Read it again.
And I said unto them, let not the gates of Jerusalem be open until the sun be hot.
So don't open the gates until the sun come out, until the sun be hot. Don't open the gates. Read.
And while they stand by, let them shut the doors and bar them, and appoint watches of the inhabitants of Jerusalem, every one in his watch, and every one to be over against his house.
So when were the watches set up? When do you have watches? At night, right? You had a watch all through the night. So he set the watches up right here, and he commanded them right here. Before you even got to the part in Nehemiah 13, he commanded them right here. When it become dark, shut and bar the gates, and don't open them until the sun be hot. So that was the rule. When the sun come out, when the sun is hot, then we can open the gates. However, when you get to Nehemiah 13 and you have people coming into the city selling on the Sabbath day, he said, I commanded that the gates be closed on the Sabbath day. So even when the sun be hot, don't open them. And I set my people in front of the gates so that nobody come in and try to sell on the Sabbath day. Because remember, Nehemiah was about to lay hands on them dudes. Right? So it was already set in place. And even just to further prove that point, let's go to Joshua 2 and 5. But he had already set in place that the gates be closed at night. Any city with any sense would close their gates at night. He didn't have to set forth that ordinance to close the gates at night because it was already set forth. The ordinance that he was setting in Nehemiah 13 was to not open them when the sun get hot. When the sun come out tomorrow, don't open them because I don't want nobody coming in here trying to sell. And because of that, they established a tradition. And we're going to go through all of these. We're going to go through the establishment of these traditions, and including why the Sabbath began the evening before. We're going to go through that, among others. But read Joshua chapter 2 and verse 5.
Joshua chapter 2 and verse 5. And it came to pass about the time of the shutting of the gate, when it was dark.
At the time of the shutting of the gate, when it was dark. Now, this is in Jericho. So even Jericho was shutting the gates when any city gonna shut the gates when it be dark. And he already said when the walls was built, he told them, when it get dark, shut the gates, put the watchers up there. Right when the walls was built from Jump Street. So he never had to reiterate, I want you to keep the gates closed on the set. No, it was because they opened the gates the next day. Just one more time. Let's go Exodus 16 and verse 11. We're gonna walk through as a matter of fact, let's go Mark 15 and 42 real quick. Mark 15 and 42. Mark 15 and 42.
Mark 15 and 42. And now when the even was come.
Okay, so the evening was come, right? Go ahead.
Because it was the preparation.
Well, you say, well, what is the preparation? Let's see what the preparation is. Read.
That is.
The preparation is, read.
The day before the Sabbath.
Okay. So when the evening was come, that is, it was the preparation. And the preparation is the day before the Sabbath. So that evening before the Sabbath day, when the sun rises, you are supposed to prepare for the Sabbath. There was certain things. Now, we live in Michigan. In the wintertime in Michigan, it get dark around 5:30. How hard was it to get home, prepare dinner, prepare everything before Shabbat come in? Before the sun went down, right? You got to get off work, get home, wash yourself, make sure the house was clean, do all of these things before. Now, the Mashiach was intent in telling you that the law is not grievous. So that night before, that evening and on through the night before was to prepare for the Sabbath. That's what it was for. Wash your body, clean your house, do everything you have to do so that when the sun rises, you're not going to work. You're going to worship me. The sacrifice is going to be done. Everything was supposed to happen that next day, but you had the evening before to prepare. It's clear as day right here. That it is the preparation. That is the day before the Sabbath.
How many of y'all thought it was a bird, but you didn't want to say that?
It was tough for some of us. I know it was, but it was tough for me. It was, yeah, exactly. And then and to heck, you have to prepare an extra day in advance. That's not what the Most High asked for. He gave us the Sabbath day to rest. You know, but like I said, the law becoming grievous. Remember when the Mashiach came back on the scene? Who head was he busting about making the law grievous? The Pharisees. We're gonna get into that though. We're gonna get into that. Let's go back to Exodus 16. And this is the last point I want to make about the Sabbath before we get into this tradition stuff. Actually, we're gonna hit 2 more points. 1 more point after this. 2 points in total. Exodus 16 and verse 11.
Exodus chapter 16 and verse 11. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, I have heard the murmuring of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, At even ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread, and ye shall know that I am Yahuwah your power.
Okay, so when the Most High is speaking to Moses, if he telling them at evening you're going to eat flesh, at what point in time of the day was he talking to them? Had to be during the day, right? If I say, this evening I'm going to give you your money, then I got to be talking to you. Earlier than the evening, right? So what happens before the evening is the daytime. You got the morning, you got the daytime, you got the evening, and you have the nighttime. And it all starts over the next morning. But he says, in the evening, you're going to eat flesh. And in the morning, you're going to eat bread to the full. Keep going. Verse 13.
And it came to pass that at even the quails came up and covered the camp. And in the morning the dew lay round about the host. And when the dew lay, and when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, It is manna, for they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, This is the bread which Yahuwah have given you to eat.
Okay, so the manna fell in that next morning. And Moses told the children of Israel, this is what the Most High has given you to eat. Go ahead.
This is the thing which Yahuwah have commanded. Gather up every man according to his eating, an omer for every man according to the number of your persons. Take ye every man for themselves which are in his tents. And the children of Israel did so, and gathered some more, some less. And when they did meet it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. And they gathered every man according to his eating. And Moses said, Let no man leave of it till the morning.
Okay, the same thing with the sacrifice, right? Don't leave nothing of the bread until the morning. Because no man had no less, and no man had no more. Every man had to his full. So eat, be filled, and don't try to save none of it until the morning. Keep going.
Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses.
Of course not. Go ahead.
But some of them left of it until the morning. And it bred worms and stank. And Moses was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning.
They gathered it when?
Every morning.
So they gathered manna every morning. Read.
And every man according to his eating. And when the sun waxed hot, it melted.
So when the sun waxed hot, that means when the sun came all the way out, right? When the sun was hot, it melted. Go ahead.
And it came to pass that on the 6th day that they gathered twice as much bread.
And it came to pass that when?
And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses.
Okay, so when did they gather manna? in the morning, right? So it came to pass that on the 6th morning, they gathered twice as much. We're going to see why. Let's keep reading.
And he said unto them, this is that which Yahuwah have said.
So check this out. This is what the Most High said.
Tomorrow is the rest of the Kodesh Sabbath unto you.
Tonight.
Tomorrow.
This evening.
Tomorrow is the rest of the Kodesh Sabbath unto you. Bake that which ye will bake today.
Bake it today, the 6th day. It just told it, the 6th day. Go ahead.
And see that which you will see, and that which remaineth over, lay up for you to be kept until the morning.
Until when? Until when?
The morning.
Until the morning. Go ahead.
And they laid it up till the morning, as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worms therein. And Moses said, eat that today.
Eat that when?
Eat that today.
So they laid it up into the morning, and Moses said, eat that today. Why?
For today.
For when?
For today.
Last night.
For today.
Yesterday evening.
For today.
For today is what?
Is the Shabbat unto Yahuwah. Today ye shall not find it in the field. 6 days ye shall gather it.
So you're going to gather. They gathered it when? In the morning, right? So 6 mornings you're going to gather it. Read.
It, but on the 7th day.
But on that 7th morning, read.
Which is the Sabbath.
Which is the Sabbath, read.
In it there shall be none. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the 7th day for to gather, and they found none. And Yahuwah said unto Moses, how long ye refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for that Yahuwah have given you the Sabbath, therefore he giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days.
So on that 6th morning, when you went to gather, he give you enough for 2. Go ahead.
Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day.
On the 7th day, or that 7th, on the morning, when you normally go gather, you don't even have to go nowhere. No man have to leave. So on the 7th day, it's specific right here. You gather it in the morning. We gather it for 6 mornings. On the 7th morning, or on the 7th day, there is none. Right? Go ahead.
So the people rested the 7th day.
So the people rested when?
On the 7th day.
So if the people rested on the 7th day, when it was time to go gather manna, when did the 7th day start? Clear as day. Clear as day. Let's go to Leviticus 23 and 27, because we got to deal with this. Leviticus 23 and 27. Because this verbiage have tripped us up on a few different occasions.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 27. Also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a Kodesh convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah.
Okay, so we understand that we are afflicting our souls mean to fast, right? Okay, so it says that on the 10th day of the 7th month shall be the day of atonement. Go ahead.
And ye shall do no work in that same day.
And because we know we did our work when? In the daytime, right? So you shall do no work on the 10th day. Read.
And you shall do no work in that same day.
In that same day, go ahead.
For it is day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before Yahuwah your power. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. Ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. And it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest.
Rest from what?
And ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even.
So, he telling you, in the 10th day, you're not going to do no work. You're going to afflict your soul. Anybody that work is going to get smashed out on the 10th day. and you shall afflict your souls beginning the 9th day and evening. So, the Day of Atonement is one that consists of a full, complete day, including night and day. Because you're going to start the afflicting the night before, the evening before. It's going to start on the evening. So this like I said, this verbiage had confused us on a couple of different occasions to where one year we fasted for 2 days. Well, it say the 9th day. And then you have people that say, well, the 9th day is the 10th day. Hold on. So the 9th day of evening is the 10th day of evening. So when is the 10th day of evening? Well, that's the 11th day of evening. No. The 9th day of evening have to be the start of the 9th day. It has to be. If we're going by evening to evening, the 9th day has to be the start of the 9th day. So that means that following day would still be the 9th day, right? And then the evening, that next evening would be the 10th day. So that means that we would have to start that 9th at evening. We would have to still fast that next day. And we would still, that's why we did it for 2 days that one year. Because the verbiage was throwing us off. But now with the understanding that days begin in the morning and you start the fast the 9th day at evening, that means the day before at evening, you start your fast. And you fast all the way through that night and the next day on the 10th day. And you end your fast when the 10th day is over. That evening. That's when the 10th day is over. The 10th day. The 10th day is over. Because we understand the Sabbath day was just a daytime portion, right? So you ended at that 10th day. That's what he's saying. This shall be a Sabbath. You don't do no work. So we understand that according to Psalms 104, we worked during the day. So now on this 10th day, it's the Sabbath. We don't work, right? But you're going to start to afflict that night before. You follow what I'm saying? Or that evening prior. So it's real specific. That's why I say you start the 9th day at evening, and then you're going to carry it on through the 10th day. Daytime. So we have to address the Day of Atonement. Because, like I said, the verbiage, when somebody say, well, the 9th day is the 10th day, it can't be. It can't be. The 9th day at evening can't be the 10th day at evening. It can't be. You have to be two separate because you're saying Eddie, right? Okay. We understand that? Okay. All right. Let's go to, now I want to deal with this,
Let me say something.
go ahead. Now,
according to what he just showed you with this Day of Atonement, if you're trying to do this the other way, what are you doing? Breaking it. You breaking it. You breaking it. So it's a whole bunch of people that's breaking it. Because they doing it not the way that it's written. Pride is something, I'm telling you.
That's pretty much the Day of Atonement is what made the Ak bring it up in the first place when we, you know what I'm saying, we start having our discussion. Because either you're gonna be right with it or you're gonna be wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? So when he brought this out and we actually got to understand and we was able to do it right. But the count would have been off. We'd have been doing it wrong and we would have just missed our Day of Atonement because of lack of understanding of the scriptures. So that's pretty much what brought the whole thing about again. You know what I'm saying?
Now I want to hit this other scripture. I mean this excerpt out the book of Josephus that also is ammunition for the evening to evening understanding. So this is Josephus, War of the Jews, book 4, chapter 10, section 7. Chapter 10, section 10. What was section 10? I don't know. All right, it was. Excuse me 1 second. I lost it. I thought it was chapter 10. Hold on. I think it's chapter 9. Okay, chapter 9, section 2. Book 4, chapter 9, section 12. Okay, yep. Section 12 and division 582. So it says, this is War of the Jews, book 4, chapter 9, section 12, division 582. Chapter 9. 691. Okay. So it says, and the last was erected above the top of the pastorio, where one of the priests stood, of course, and gave signal beforehand with the trumpet at the beginning of every 7th day in the evening twilight, as also at the evening when the day was finished, as giving notice to the people when they were to leave off work and when they were to go to work again. So you read this and say, it said they blew the trumpet at the beginning of the 7th day in the evening. And it threw me, because all of these other scriptures is clear that days begin in the morning. So it threw me. So how many of us have ever heard of building a fence around the Torah? Building a fence or building a hedge around the Torah? Okay. In short, building a hedge around the Torah is what the people did to keep people from breaking the law. So, y'all know how the Jewish people on the Shabbat don't turn on the light, right? That's a Talmudic custom, or in the Mishnah, which is oral law. They do that to remind them that they can't kindle a fire on the Shabbat, because that's the law. So in order to protect that law or place a hedge around that law, don't turn on the light at all. You know how Jewish people, they don't eat meat and dairy together in one meal because of this one scripture that's misinterpreted. But they don't eat meat and dairy in the same meal. So because of that, in order to protect that, so people don't trip up and do it, they don't store meat and dairy in the same place. They store them in 2 different places. That's why if you go to Oak Park on Greenfield and 11 Mile, you got Jerusalem Pizza and you got Jerusalem Subs, both Jewish-owned establishments. Jerusalem Pizza don't have no meat. It's all vegetables and cheese. Jerusalem Subs don't have no cheese. It's all meat and vegetables. And they got fake cheese. But that's the reason why they do it. So in order to protect the Sabbath, they started it the evening before, so people wouldn't screw it up. And we're going to read how this tradition came about. So this comes from the Talmud. It's Abot 1 and 1. Say again.
Talmud.
Aboth. Abot. 1 and 1.
Abot 1 and 1. Moses received the law from Sinai and committed it to Joshua, and Joshua to the elders, and the elders to the prophets, and the prophets
committed it to the men of the great synagogue, a body of 120 members, which arose during the exile under Ezra. And this way, the authority to teach came to the Pharisees and the scribes.
So in this way, that's how the authority to teach the law came to the Pharisees and the scribes. People, no, that's it. So that's how the authority to teach came to the Pharisees and the scribes. That was the oral tradition. So notice that it says that body of elders was around the Babylonian exile in Ezra's time, right? And if y'all not familiar, but portions of the book of Nehemiah was written by Ezra. If y'all didn't know. So when we read in Nehemiah to where it says before the Sabbath, that when it began to be dark, it's when all of these traditions started with our people around the time of Ezra in like 520 to 540 BCE. So these are some of the understanding that the rabbis have now that came from the Pharisees and Sadducees and all this stuff about placing a fence around the Torah. Go ahead and read that.
The latter used to say, make a fence around the Torah.
That's at the end of I both 1 and 1. Go ahead.
Why does the Torah need a fence around it? J. Israel Stam explains that the Torah is conceived as a garden, and its precepts are precious plants. Such as garden is fenced round for the purpose of obviating willful or even unintended damage.
So the fence is to stop people from damaging the fruit, right? So this fence that they put, these extra rules and regulations that they placed around the law was to keep people from damaging or breaking the law. Go ahead.
Likewise, the precepts of the Torah were to be fenced round with additional.
With what?
With additional inhibitions.
With additional inhibitions. Go ahead.
That should have the effect of preserving the original commandments from trespass.
So these additional inhibitions or these additional rules was to preserve the commandments from being broken. Now, people want to say, well, that's them Jewish people. This was our people that instituted this. Well before there was anything called a Jewish person. Well before the Ashkenazi Jews came in to be, our people instituted this way back when, because they have been going into exile time and time again. They say, look, man, in order so that we don't go we aren't trying to go into captivity no more. Whatever you do, we cannot break the Sabbath. Whatever you do, we cannot break these laws. So they made some extra rules to protect the laws. Keep reading.
Let me add right quick. What is the law, y'all? The law is what? It's spiritual, right? The law is spiritual. He said to be carnally minded is death. So with them adding these extra inhibitions to the law, they made it what?
Carnal.
They made it carnal.
And grievous.
Grievous. So they made something that the Most High set in place to be spiritual and turned it to be carnal.
Because they're thinking about it with their natural mind.
Right.
Let's keep everybody from breaking it. Let's set up some extra stuff. Go ahead.
This explanation of what?
Yeah, you're right.
This explanation is affirmed in different places in the Talmud. Example: the rabbis erected safeguards for a spiritual law. Rabbi Eleazar ben Jacob said, I have heard that Beth Din may impose flagellation and pronounce death sentences even where not warranted.
So they was killing people for breaking these rules, even though the law didn't say this was a sin unto death. Keep going.
By the Torah, yet not with the intention of disregarding the Torah, but to make a fence around it. Though the actions of the rabbis are not sanctioned by the Torah, they are done to protect the Torah. Isaiah 29. Yeah, you can hit Psalms 119 and 100 to go with it.
It says, this is the common understanding of how the oral law serves as a fence around the Torah. But there is a serious problem with it. The rabbis were not speaking to preserve the original commandment.
They weren't seeking to preserve the commandments. What were they doing?
The commandments from trespass. Had they done that, they and their laws would have been left without any authority. After all, the original commandments did not authorize the rabbis to build a fence or to do anything else.
So the original law never empowered the rabbis to add any. The scripture is specific when it says, "Do not add and do not take away." Do not add and do not take away. But the rabbis or the teachers or the leaders, they added all of this extra stuff. So when the Mashiach came on the scene, he went straight at the scribes, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the high priests. He went straight at their head because they had changed all the laws. They had made them grievous. You making the law grievous. But it just didn't happen when the Mashiach came on the scene. It happened well before that. And we're going to read Isaiah 29 starting at verse 13. Wherefore, the master said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth and with their lips do honor me. But
it says they draw near me with their mouth and their lips, they do honor me. So, like they say in here, their intention, quote unquote, was to preserve or protect the Torah. But the Most High gave the Torah. There's no need to try to protect what he already gave for you to guard. Right? Read what you got, Quad.
Psalms 119, 100.
100.
Psalms 119 and 100. I understand more than the ancients.
He said he do what?
I understand more than the ancients.
We just learned today about the correct way to keep Shabbat, right? Read.
Because I keep thy precepts.
I keep who precepts?
Thy precepts.
Whose precepts is he talking about?
The Most High's
He
precepts.
said, I keep your precepts. The Most High's precepts, right? Go ahead.
I have refrained.
No, go ahead.
okay. But have removed their heart far from me. And their fear toward me
Our
is
fear
taught
was taught by what?
by the precept of men.
We got taught by the precepts of men, the fear of the Most High, right? They was tell, if you, let's just say you turn on the light, you got to be killed. You just broke the Shabbat. You just picked corn, like with Hamashiach, right? We got to kill this man.
You just ate and didn't wash your hands.
Exactly. We got to kill him because they added their own thing. He says that your fear towards me was taught by what?
The precept of men.
Read on.
Therefore, behold, I will proceed to do a marvelous work among this people, even a marvelous work and a wonder. For the wisdom of their wise men shall perish.
The what?
The wisdom of their wise men shall perish.
Why? When did this happen?
Coming out of Babylon.
It says the wisdom of their wise men shall perish. Hamashiach came on the scene and said the wise and prudent, right? This stuff is now going to be given to babes because they distorted the law for their own gain. Read.
And the understanding of their prudent men shall be hid.
It shall be hid. Go ahead.
Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from Yahuwah.
Who did Hamashiach go in? He said, woe be to who? The scribes and the Pharisees. Read.
And their works are in the dark. And they say, who sees us? And who knows us? Surely your turning of things upside down.
They're what?
Your turning of things upside down.
They flipped the law. They flipped it. They turned it upside down. Go ahead.
Shall be esteemed as the potter's clay.
Now people are going to actually think that the things that they saying is law. They're going to actually think that this is coming from the Most High when it's not at all. Read.
Read this part.
Okay. It says, a fence protects by restricting access. What it surrounds can only be seen through the fence or approached by permission of the owner.
So these rabbis took ownership of the law. They took ownership of the law so that the only time you can proceed through is by the access that they granted. Go ahead.
When something is fenced in, someone is fenced out. The Talmud says the rabbis gave complete authority to themselves to obscure the fact that they built a fence around the Torah.
Okay, so it says to obscure the fact that they built a fence around the Torah. Now read Isaiah 29 and 16. Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as potter's clay. For shall the work say unto him that made it, he made me not.
He said what?
Shall the work say unto him that made it, he made me not.
So the Pharisees is basically instructing the Most High on to keep his Torah. You get what I'm saying? The Most High gave it, and they adding to it. You ain't do it good enough. Right? Read.
Or shall the thing framed say unto him that framed it, he had no understanding.
They said what?
He had no understanding.
So they clearly, and we're going to read in here, they clearly thinking that the Most High can't preserve or keep his people from breaking the law. So they said, we going to institute our own thing, right? And here it says, above all, a fence indicates ownership. The Talmud explains that erecting a fence is a means of asserting ownership over something one did not own before.
Right. So the law was not theirs. They did not give it. However, they instituted these rules that gave them ownership, because now if you don't follow the rules, if you set up rules and somebody don't follow them, that means you can decree the punishment. So they was punishing people for breaking their rules who wasn't necessarily breaking the law. Jump down.
It says, Rabbi Akbia, tradition is a fence to the Torah.
What is?
Tradition is a fence to the Torah.
Uh-huh.
In saying this, Akbia agreed with Josephus and the Gospels, though their view of placing Torah behind tradition was negative. The contemporary sources indicate that the appearance of tradition before Akiba was as a small fence with great gaps in it that allowed too much free access. The All-Merciful taught Moses this: you must not allow the greater part of a fence to consist of gaps. Rabbi Hannah, the son of Rabbi Joshua, ruled, it is forbidden, for it is this that All-Merciful taught Moses, its greater part must be fenced.
So we gotta fence. So we gotta place protection around the greater part of the law. And we gotta remove those gaps because it's allowing too much freedom. The people is becoming too free. We gotta close them gaps up. Read.
Akiba raised the fence.
He raised the fence even higher. Read.
And closed the gaps to assert ownership of the Torah. The goal was to fence the people off from the Torah and from all other influences that would have competed with rabbinic interpretation.
So any other influence that would compete with the rabbinic interpretation, they was trying to fence it off. So when you had this man coming saying that he was the son of the Most High, and he was coming against all the traditions, right? And they like, yo, who are you? And he like, I'm the son of the Most High. That's like your law is this. Notice how he kept saying your law and your tradition. And when you start breaking them down, he was hitting because they had established all of these rules. They had made the law grievous. But we know in keeping the law, it ain't that hard to do. It's really just everyday life. Like we want to say common sense, but when it comes to cleaning and washing yourself, you got to clean and wash yourself. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you're going into the temple that was supposed to be a set apart place. When it comes to abstaining from eating certain things, it was for your benefit and your health, right? When it comes to pretty much even the Sabbath was for us to have rest from work so we wouldn't get burnt out, right? I mean, even the world give you 2 days off on the weekend mostly. Keep going.
It says, in the system which was erected, no one else had the right to interpret Torah. Not the people of the land, nor the priests, nor the prophets, nor the Sadducees, the Qumran covenanters, the students of Yeshua or the disciples, nor anyone else, not even the Most High.
So nobody was allowed to interpret the law except the rabbis, not even the Most High. So when you read through the scriptures and all through the New Testament, when it tell you that they went into the synagogue to study, well, why they couldn't just go to the crib and pull their own scriptures out? Because they didn't have them. They had to go to the synagogue because that's where the scriptures was.
They didn't
have them. So everybody's familiar with Paul, right? Before Paul became a disciple, what was he known for?
Killing the disciples.
Killing the children of Israel, right? But he was a what?
Pharisee.
He was a Pharisee of the Pharisees. He was going around killing people because they was breaking the oral tradition. That's why when the Mashiach knocked him down, he say, Saul, why are you persecuting me? You know what I'm saying? You killing my people. And then he instructed Paul. And that's when Paul came back and he started doing the things that the Mashiach had taught him about the Most High, rather than what he had learned as a Pharisee when he was going around slaughtering. He wasn't slaughtering everybody because he was a Roman. He was because he was trying to people. The Pharisee was trying to keep these oral traditions that superseded the law. And when they was breaking them, they was putting them to death. Just what this article said, how the tradition started. And this ain't no Wikipedia article. These is cited references all through here, through real literary works. You know what I'm saying? This is real stuff right here. Let's read this last part.
It says, this was the continual theme of the rabbinic writings. The apologetic function of the mistress is not only to denigrate the translation of Scripture, but to establish the exclusive authority of the Pharisaic tradition as the legitimate recipient and interpretation of divine revelation. Only the rabbis could give the authorized interpretation. Who said so? They themselves.
Right. So they started, the rabbis themselves put they self in power. Ain't nowhere in the law that it told you to follow these rabbis. So now we understand that when a kid ran up to the Mashiach and he was like, Rabbi, he was, whoa, hold on. Don't be calling me that, dude. I ain't no rabbi. You know what I'm saying? He was like, oh, hold on. Why you call me rabbi? Don't call me rabbi. Don't call no man rabbi. You know what I'm saying? Right? Go ahead.
The oral law, as a fence, the oral law is a means to assert and entrench rabbinic, what's that?
Hegemony.
Without it, nothing needs rabbinic approval. With it, everything does.
So without the rabbis establishing this hedge around the Torah, don't nothing need their approval. But with it, everything had to have their approval. Everything had to have their approval. And that's when the Mashiach came on the scene and he was busting their head wide open. Like, yo, don't it say in your law, this, that, and the third? Like, does it not say, by your tradition, let me grab that real quick. By your tradition, X, Y, and Z? And he came and he set them straight. That's why they was like, yo, we got to do something about this dude. He messing up everything that we done spent all these years trying to establish.
Is there some people like that today?
I don't know. I think that.
Is there some people like the scribes and Pharisees today? Anybody?
Let's go to Matthew 23 and verse 1.
The book of Matthew, chapter 23 and verse 1. Then spake Mashiach to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat.
Now, we went through this the other day. The scribes and the Pharisees, they sit in Moses' seat because Moses was the one laying down everything, all the law, right? So they sit in Moses' seat, right? Go ahead.
All therefore, whatsoever they bid, or whatsoever he bid, you observe.
That's the problem. I mean, we went through this the other week when we're breaking down the New Testament written in Hebrew. So that's showing that this is a mistake, a written mistake. So it says that whatsoever he bid, you observe. So whatever that Moses told you to do, the law, the Torah, that's what you're supposed to observe. Read.
That observe and do, but do not you after their works, for they say and do not.
So don't do what they tell you to do because it's not right. He's saying this to the whole multitude and his disciples about the people that ran everything. They placed this hedge about the law. They was the ones in the temple that was teaching every Shabbat. They did everything. They was in control. They was the controlling powers. So in order for the scribes, in order for the chief priest to have put him to death, they had to, get the people behind them because all the people were starting to follow them because everything had became grievous to them. But all this, there's one more I want to hear. What?
It says, for they bind heavy burdens.
There you go.
Oh, okay. They bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves would not move them with one of their fingers.
So these heavy burdens that they put on y'all, they not even doing. All of this whole hedge that they placed around the law, they not even doing. So all of these, like I said, the traditions that came about, that the Jewish people do even today, came from way back when and was happening during the time of the Messiah, including the Sabbath starting the evening before in order to that people wouldn't break it. But I showed you clear as day. The days don't begin when the evening starts. They begin when the day starts in the morning, including the Sabbath. Clear as day.
How do they dress in that verse, in that chapter?
But all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make broad their phylacteries.
They do what?
Phylacteries. They make broad their
They
phylacteries.
make broad they phylacteries. Go ahead.
And enlarge the borders of their garments.
So they got super fringes. Right? Go ahead.
And they love the uppermost rooms at feasts.
Wow. So they have big shindigs and come on down and right? The book is trying to show you something because it's some people out right now that's doing this exact same thing. They have made a lot of this stuff grievous, so there's nothing new under the sun. These same people, the spirit of them that came right and floated. In quote unquote 2015, these same people doing the same things. So when you come out and show them like a Mashiach saying, this stuff is wrong, they come after you in droves, right? We got to get rid of these people because they coming against what the elders have taught us. The same thing.
There you go. Keep going. It says, and in greeting markets, and in the greeting markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But be not you called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Hamashiach, and all you are brethren, and call no man father upon the earth, for one is your father, which is in Shamayim. Neither be you called masters, for one is your master, even Hamashiach. But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant, and whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted.
So that's where all of this stuff came, well, all of these extra traditions and all this extra stuff came to pass. But from the beginning, it was not so. So I want to open the floor for any questions or any comments or any statements that anybody might have.
Going back to the preparation days, is that considered the day part of the previous day or the whole day?
No.
And even.
The evening?
The evening.
The day portion is the 6 working days.
You're still working.
You're still working.
So it's that evening.
That evening. That evening is, you prepare yourself for the Shabbat. So it ain't. So I don't want nobody to get it misconstrued. This ain't so you could go out and party on Friday night. You still have to maintain your righteousness. You still have, it ain't so you can go do certain things on Friday night. But Friday night, you're supposed to be preparing for the Sabbath.
Right. So at the end of the Shabbat, like tonight, is that the end of the Sabbath for us? Okay.
There's no such thing as Sabbath night.
Thank you. Sabbath.
That's right.
Right.
Nope.
And that's what I'm saying. In Genesis 2:1, it said, and on the 7th day, he rested and he blessed it. It don't mention the 7th evening. It don't mention the 6th evening.
Right, so we
It
are
just,
able to.
that's right. So the Sabbath day in particular is the daytime portion of the 7th day. But like I said, it's not so we can do what we want on Friday night. That day before, like we just read, it's the preparation for the Sabbath that's coming. Get your house together, clean up, do everything you need to do in order to prepare for the Shabbat. So that when the next day comes, you ain't tripping because you got a sink full of dishes or because the kids done messed up the house, because you done prepared your house for the Shabbat that previous evening. That's what it's for.
Okay, she just asked me. So when do the Sabbath end?
That's what she just asked.
When the sun goes down.
You ain't catching it. Okay, you saying it ends at
When the sun goes down.
Okay, I was telling them that, bro.
Yeah, sunrise to sunset.
Let's get that.
Yeah, like you say, each day is the beginning of a new day.
That's right.
When that sun go down, it's a new day, right? Correct?
No.
It isn't?
No. When the sun go down, it's the same day. When the sun come up, it's a new day. However, it's the end. When the sun goes down, it's the end of the daytime portion of that day. So you enter the evening and the night. It's not the end of that day. Like when the sun go down, it ain't gonna be the first day again, the first day of the week. It's gonna be the 7th day at evening and the 7th night. You know what I'm saying? You understand? Okay. Hold on, Sister Pat. Let's grab the scripture real quick.
Let's get that scripture. Show you when it is. Get us Psalms 113. Psalms 113 and 1.
Psalms 113 and 1. Praise you, Yahuwah. Praise, all you servants of Yahuwah. Praise the name of Yahuwah.
So the Shabbat is about having a day off from work and what else? Praise, right? Read.
Blessed be the name of the Most High, from this time forth and forevermore. From the rising of the sun.
From when?
From the rising of the sun.
From the rising of the sun till when?
Until the going down of the same.
That's what you're supposed to do. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same day. That's the worship portion of the day, when you're supposed to get your rest. He tells us directly in that scripture what it's for and how long. So
let's grab.
Again, it ain't no Sabbath night.
Let's grab Psalms 92. Read the heading of that. Psalms 92 and verse 1, but I want you to read the heading.
It's a psalm or song for the Sabbath day.
For the what?
For the Sabbath day.
Uh-huh.
It is a good thing to give thanks unto Yahuwah and to sing praises unto your name, O Most High.
So that's the same thing we just read in Psalms 113, right? Read.
To show forth loving kindness in the morning.
When?
In the morning.
Read.
And your faithfulness every night.
Same thing. What was you going to say, Sister Pat?
Well, I was asking the question.
Uh-huh.
What you're saying is on Yom Kippur, you only have to fast the daytime portion?
No.
The night before.
Go back to it. Let's go to Leviticus 23 and verse 27. Now, this is key. This is very, very important. Go ahead.
Also, in the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a Kodesh convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire.
So that's the 10th day. You're going to afflict your soul, offer an offering. Keep going.
And you shall do no work in that same day.
Mm-hmm.
For it is the day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before Yahuwah, your Elohim.
Jump down to verse 31.
31. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings.
That's the 10th day part, right? That's telling us on the 10th day, you're going to have a day of atonement. Go ahead.
It shall be unto you a Sabbath.
So it's going to be just like the Sabbath in the fact that you don't do no work on that day. On that day. Read.
And you shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at evening.
And you shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at evening. So the affliction is going to start the evening of the day before. And it's going to roll all the way until the evening of the 10th day. It's going to end. So it's going to be a full 24-hour portion. And that's just more to the point. Why mention the day before and evening if that was already the practice? If that was already the thing to do, why mention it? But it's specific in mentioning it here because that was not. If I tell you that the 10th day gonna be a Shabbat, just like the regular Shabbat, okay, cool. It's gonna start in the morning, it's gonna end in the evening. But then I further the instruction to say it's gonna start the 9th day at evening. Oh, okay, so it's gonna start the evening before. It would be no reason to mention that if it started at the evening already.
Exactly.
All right. All right, I want to show something because I know there's probably still be somebody that come along and say, well, Genesis still say that the darkness, you know what I'm saying, that the darkness was first, right? So I just want to show one thing with this. Let's get Genesis 1:14.
Genesis 1:14. And the Most High said, let there be lights in the firmament of Shamayim to divide the day from the night. Let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the Shamayim to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And Yahuwah made 2 great lights.
2 great lights. Go ahead.
The greater light to rule the day.
That's the sun.
And the lesser light to rule the night.
And that will be the moon. Go ahead.
He made the stars also. And Yahuwah set them in the firmament of Shamayim to give light upon the earth.
So okay, this is the 4th day that he created the sun, the moon, and the stars, correct? All right, let's jump back to Genesis 1 and pick it up at verse 2.
Verse 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of Yahuwah moved upon the face of the waters. And Yahuwah said, let there be light. And there was light.
So, according to Genesis 1:14, the sun, moon, and stars, they was created on the 4th day, right? What is this light right here? A Mashiach, right? All right. Through thy precepts, we get what? Understanding. Let's get 2 Peter. 2 Peter 1:18.
Second Peter 1:18.
Now we know that all of the sun, moon, and stars, they all are referred to as stars, right? All right, read.
And this voice which came from Shamayim we heard, and when we were with him in the set apart mount, and we have also a more sure word of prophecy, whereunto you do well that you take heed, and unto a light that shines in a dark place.
To what?
To a light that shines in a dark place.
So it was dark in the beginning, and he said, let there be light. So this light came out of a dark place. Read.
Until the day dawned.
Until what?
Until the day dawned.
What is the day dawn? That's the morning. That's when it's coming in, right? Read.
And the day star arise in your heart.
So there's only one star that rises in the day, right? What star is that? That's the sun. So this was the Messiah early in the morning, all the way back here in the morning. So when that light, it was morning time, because he is the day star. Let's prove he the day star. Let's get Revelations chapter 8 and verse 12.
Revelations 8 and 12. And the fourth messenger sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars. So as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise.
So the Messiah is the quote-unquote day star, because he is the one, the quote-unquote morning star, as they would say. So it was early in the morning when he came out, when the Most High said, let there be light, that light was him, and it came out in the morning. Only one star is in the daytime. That is the sun. The sun, the moon, and the stars do their thing at night. So just to further, like the Akhlan already smashed it to pieces in 1,000 places to show you that this star, that was early in the morning. and not in the evening. All right.
Right. And then the hold on one second. Let's grab Genesis 1:1 again.
In the beginning, the Most High created the Shamayim and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of the Most High moved upon the face of the waters. And the Most High said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And the Most High saw the light, that it was good. And the Most High divided the light from the darkness. And the Most High called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the first day.
Okay, so when the Most High said, "Let there be light," what was he doing? He was creating, right? So his first creation was what? Was light. So for somebody to say, well, the darkness came first. The Most High, is he light or is he dark? Can darkness exist in the presence of the Most High? So anywhere the Most High is present, there could not be darkness. It would have to be light. And then when he said, "Let there be light," the first thing he created was not darkness. It was light. The darkness is simply the absence of light. But anywhere where the Most High is present, light is present. So you can't say, well, darkness came first. No, the Most High is first, and he is light. Anywhere where he is not present is darkness. So when he created a light to be in place, when he was absent, you know what I'm saying? So that whole thing about the darkness came first, it makes no sense. Because he came first, and he light. Any more questions? So again. John 11 and verse 9. And Yeshua answered and answered, "Are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumble not, because he sees light of this world." Now, once again, this is a parable. You know, it's saying when a full day being a 24-hour period, is there not light in half of that, being the 12 hours, right? So if any man walk in the day, he don't stumble because he can see where he's going. This is a parable saying, if any man walk while I'm here with you, then you're not going to stumble because I'm here with you, right? Right? So that, like I said, this is a parable talking about the day, like breaking down him being present and the daytime of a 24-hour portion.
It's Isaiah 8:20. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word.
To which word?
To this word, it is because there is no light in them.
So that's the whole thing. When he was present, he was light. He brought light. And if you don't speak according to what he brought and according to the word of the Most High, then there ain't no light in you. You darkness, right? So that, like I said, it's a parable. The whole thing about it being 12 hours in a day. But it's just talking about half of a full day. And that's kind of where a lot of trouble lies, because when you look at the word day in Hebrew, the word yom, there is no difference between the word yom, meaning daytime, and the word yom, meaning a complete day, or the word yom, meaning a future prophecy. And in that day, right, it's all yom. You don't know. There's no difference in it. So the only way we can get understanding on that is through the precepts.
So I need clarification on Friday night. What is the purpose of Friday night?
To prepare for the Sabbath.
Cook your meal, you
clean your
yourself,
house.
you clean your house, you get everything together for your 7th day, which starts that quote-unquote Saturday morning,
right,
for it to be as Kodesh as possible.
I can go shopping on Friday night. Does that mean to?
is to prepare for the Sabbath.
Whatever you need to do for the Sabbath.
The Friday evening is to prepare for the Sabbath.
Do not buy tickets to the club on Friday night.
Listen, once again, let's grab it. That the verse in Mark. So 15 to 42.
Mark chapter 15, in verse 42. And now, when the evening was come.
And now when Friday evening comes, go ahead.
Because it was the preparation.
Because it is the preparation, read.
That is, the day before the Sabbath.
So you have to prepare yourself. This was the whole reason why they had to take the Mashiach's body down, right? And they had to place him in the tomb. Why they couldn't anoint his body with oil and spices right then and there. They had to take his body down, place it in the tomb, and wait until the Sabbath was passed in order to anoint his body, because it was the day of preparation and they would have been unclean. So handling the body which was dead is against the law. I mean, you couldn't participate in the feast because you would have been unclean if they wouldn't have cleansed themselves before evening came, right? So it's not to go shopping. It's to prepare for the Sabbath. Thus, it makes sense to extend it and say, well, the Sabbath start now. But when you do that, that means that you got to put everything down, right? That means you can't really prepare. That means you shorten your time to prepare from the time you get off work until the time the sun go down. But you actually have that evening to prepare for the Sabbath, to cleanse your flesh, to clean your house, to make sure you have food prepared for the Sabbath. So that on Sabbath morning when you get up, you're like, you ain't worried about your house being unclean because the sun done went down. I'm just gonna leave it until after Sabbath. No, it's so you can prepare yourself so that you don't have no burden on the Sabbath day, and you can actually rest and relax, and you're not worried about it, right?
Because he made it crystal clear that 6 days that you're supposed to work. So there's no way that the preparation day could be a part of that 6 days. That would be cutting into it. So that quote-unquote Friday night, like he said, it was to have you prepared. Hamashiach said that my burden is light. These commandments are not grievous, especially in the winter when it get dark at 5 o'clock and you scrambling and you like, oh man, that sun already about to go down. I ain't got nothing to eat yet. So now I got to run and try to order a pizza or do something. All of this stuff make this stuff grievous. Now, nobody ain't never want to say it, but that's what a lot of people was feeling like, man, I just don't know what to do. I can't really make it. Because we was going off the tradition of men as opposed to what these scriptures are really, really saying. Now that he came and showed this stuff, it make it crystal clear, make it way easier. And like, we didn't even want to bring this out because we was already worried about everybody gonna take this as a license to go off and do stuff on Friday night now. Well, if you do that, then you ain't righteous in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Because you shouldn't be doing stuff that's outside of the law in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
I looked at it like this. And more of a silver lining type of thing. Like, we made it our obligation to have stuff done before the sun went down. For all of these years, we made it our obligation. This knowledge ain't new. It's been in the book. He ain't revealed it to us until he saw fit that we already had this down to know that if I give you a preparation, if I show you the preparation, you're going to know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? So all of this time that it was grievous, he still had to make sure. That's like somebody saying, well, if I'm able to, well, okay, I can't get to Shabbat class all the time because I don't have a whip. I don't have a car, right? If you say and make that your business to say, well, I can't get there, and if he just bless me with this, I'll be able to be there. Right? You think he gonna give it to you? Because you already got it in your mind, you ain't gonna be there if you ain't got it. So now when you get it, it's not guaranteed that you're gonna do what you gotta do with that thing. He gotta make sure you loyal in what you are giving at first in order for him to bless you with something else. You know what I'm saying? So that's the way I look at it. Like it was a blessing that we went through what we went through. So now we can build onto it now that we got something different. You feel what I'm
saying? Anybody else have anything? Oh, go ahead, Scar.
How long do you stay unclean if you was to touch a dead carcass or something like that?
Say it again.
How long do you be unclean?
To the evening. You wash yourself, you unclean until the evening.
Gotta be clean before we eat.
So you said evening, you said even if it was in the evening, you gotta wait till the next evening to be unclean?
To be clean.
Wait, say that again.
Yeah, to be clean, I mean, right. So you mean if you got unclean in the evening, you gotta wait till the following evening?
Absolutely.
So what was it clean in the morning? You could be unclean at the evening?
Say again?
Once the day over, then you be unclean. Say that you got unclean in the morning day. Then when evening comes,
well, once you wash yourself,
you gotta wash yourself.
You're unclean into the evening, You didn't just automatically clean. You gotta wash yourself.
Right.
So it's no time limit. It's like when the day over.
Right. So if you got dirty this morning, you're not going to be clean until that sun go down today.
After you wash.
Right.
We ain't talking about no quick hit the hot spots. You got to clean your body.
Yeah. If you touch a dead body, you talking about if you touch a dead. If anything that's in the anything that's in the no, it ain't 7 days. I don't think it's 7 days. Is it 7 days? Okay. Well, that makes sense.
So that would be correct?
7 days.
You talking? Wait. Right. That's what all the reason why for all the laws in Leviticus 15 about being clean.
We're gonna get both.
About being clean. All those laws was because to prevent the spread of bacteria and disease. Right? So even if, like when they talk about the seed of compilation, if it get on something, you have to wash it. You couldn't lay on it because it'll make you unclean, right? So if you had a gash or issue of blood, you have to, clean it and be healed, or else you'll be unclean. So, which verse? It's Leviticus the 15th chapter. Even when you got an issue of blood, you got to wait 7 days.
That's man and woman issue.
with the lamb, we're supposed to be done eating it by the morning, right? That's what he brought out in the script. So why do we pack plates and pack a lot of lamb on our plate for the next day? We gotta stop doing it, right?
Well, because it's not. For one, it's not a lamb of the first year without blemish. Yeah, it's not none. We're not, because we understand that the Mashiach is our sacrificial lamb. So we're not sacrificing it like we didn't sacrifice the lamb in the first place. So it's none of that is surrounding the ordinance of the Pesach.
But should we still be trying to practice the right way?
Well, what I'm saying is
until we out of this situation, we should.
Well, it's not like we're sacrificing a lamb anyway. So the only thing that wasn't supposed to be left until the morning was a sacrifice, right? Let none of it be left. But we didn't make a sacrifice. The Mashiach is our sacrifice. Right. We can't make a sacrifice. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it is none of it is really falling under that.
Okay. I just read that yesterday too. Here go this Numbers 19 and 11. They just gave a sister clap. They're trying to sting us with these.
Y'all high-fiving over there?
I mean, you don't know if the lamb is 5 years old with high blood pressure, got a broke leg, or nothing.
I disregarded all of that.
Numbers 19 and 11 about the dead body.
Numbers chapter 19 and verse 11. You shall not steal, neither deal falsely, neither lie to one another. And you shall not swear.
Wrong number. That's the other number.
That's Roman numbers. That's Roman numbers.
That's Roman numerals. That's the numerals.
Numbers 19 and 11. He that touches the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days.
Now this is the way that you cleanse yourself with being unclean with touching a dead body or going into a dead body. Go ahead.
He shall purify himself with it on the third day.
On the third day, he has to be purified. He has to be clean from this dead body on the third day. It's more preparation into being clean from a dead body than just regular uncleanliness. Right? Go ahead.
And on the 7th day, he shall be clean.
So it's just like the issue of blood with a woman, except that in the middle, in the third day, you got to make sure that you cleanse from this dead body. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Washing your flesh.
Washing. Right?
And your clothing.
But it's two. You can't skip the third day. Or you're gonna have to.
What if you just washing and showering every day? So
that's you supposed to do it anyway.
I mean, that's what
I'm just saying. It's just.
Yeah,
it's just telling you don't miss that third day.
It wasn't no shower in their tents. So
taking
the bath was a little bit more. So they might only bathe like once a week.
That is these words.
I said might. I said might.
Look, Brandon.
You just read what happened to more just What happened to more just
They can never go into a sanctuary.
Because they always working on their own.
Never go into a sanctuary.
And I was gonna say also to that, so even though you purify yourself on the third day, you still couldn't go to
not until the 8th.
7th.
You got the 8th. I mean the 7th day was the being cleansed, so you got it on the 8th.
That's just like we already know we don't supposed to eat the pig, right?
On the 7th day.
That's the same thing, right?
Say again.
We all know we don't supposed to be eating swine flesh. That's the same thing.
No. We are never supposed to eat swine
I
flesh.
understand, but if you do it, you're unclean.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you do it, you
that's until the evening. That ain't until 7 days. That's just until the evening.
You saying if you do it by mistake, right?
Well, see, back in the day, I used to work with Thorn Apple Valley, and I was unclean.
Oh, you saying if you touch it, not eat it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you aren't supposed to touch the carcass, you'd be unclean. You saying, you ain't talking about consuming swine flesh.
No.
You're talking about touching like the carcass.
Touching it, cleaning it, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like
Okay.
with the different separations, like you got, I don't know if y'all men know, if you have an issue of blood, or running issue of blood, a gash that leak, you got 7 days of separation too. So we can't cheat on that. You got, like the Ak was saying, the seed of copulation, that's a 1 day unclean thing. The touching of the unclean carcasses, that's a 1 day unclean thing.
If it's running,
It's running. It's a running issue.
Like it's pus or something.
It's leaking. It says a running issue.
Running issue.
Running. If it's running out of your flesh.
Yes, it's running. Just like women have a monthly running issue, right?
Right.
That's not 7 days.
Hold on.
7 days.
So if I was to touch the carcass, I cannot come to Shabbat at all.
Yeah, you be unclean.
On the 7th. Because I thought,
Yep.
So in regards to saying health care, it's going to cost your body to do the same thing on the 3rd day. You have to purify.
Well, you will be unclean on the 7th day. You will be clean. On the 7th day, you will be clean. Yeah, that's if you touch it.
Touch it.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm coming in contact with it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it in the room or
Touch it.
Right. Especially like saying, if you don't touch it, you in the presence of it. That's pretty much you're unclean to the evening, so to speak.
Anybody else?
is it disobeying if you touch the carcass? I mean, do you understand what I'm saying?
You can touch it, you just gonna be unclean.
Okay,
You got people who actually had to prepare the bodies. You got people
yeah,
who
because
had
I heard something about you are never to touch it.
That's Talmudic, probably.
You said
Probably
what?
Talmudic.
That you never supposed to touch it?
Yeah.
That's probably Talmudic.
You gotta be buried. No, because it was priests. Remember, it was priests that had touched the dead body, and they had to they couldn't keep the feast because they was in contact with a dead body. And they kept the Passover the next month. I'm not sure. I know the priest for sure. Yeah.
Regardless if you wear gloves too, right? Because you're in contact with it, right?
So it's the feast days, the only days that we are dealing with that evening. So yes, atonement is the only one.
Atonement, and then and then like Pesach start. You know, the evening. The evening of the 14th, when you kill it between the evenings. So that's the Pesach night, even though we don't keep Pesach, we keep Feast of Unleavened Bread. That's it?
He's scared to say it. He said that if you want to have an issue with blood, you ain't going to sleep outside the tent. That's what
Put him in the yard. Put him in the yard. I'm joking.
No, I built a shed for my wife, so she goes. No, but that's what we do. As far as I got you. As far as
Yeah, so anything she said on was unclean, or Ben was unclean, everything.
I mean, I'll give you an example of how I do it. When my wife is supposed to be set apart, we don't sleep in the same spot. She got a designated chair that she sit in. You can't be just moving around. I mean, just ceremonially, this is the way that, you know what I'm saying? This is just how we do it. Do you let her go cook your food? Yeah. Huh? That ain't what it said. It said whatever she sit upon or lie upon.
Or touch it.
Show me.
Show me.
But she's still cooking and touching stuff. It's the same thing.
We'll see.
Hey, make sure you get that.
That's one week off. That's all. We gonna get a
One at a time.
Because it's me. Don't feel true. Unless your mama told you.
Hold on.
You can't touch yourself for 7 days, but you gotta be with your man. Y'all want to go test?
Hold up. Hey. I made that statement because I read it. It's not whatever she touched. I'm going to read it. If a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days. Whosoever touch her shall be unclean until the evening. Whosoever touch her. Whosoever touch, hold up. And everything that she lie upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she sit upon shall be unclean. Whosoever touch her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. Whosoever touch anything that she sat upon shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean. If it be on her bed or on anywhere on she sit, when she touch it, she shall be unclean until evening. If any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him, he shall be unclean 7 days, and all the bear on she lie. So it's pretty much the stuff that she is on, what she lay on, what she.
I want to say one thing. With
not
that.
necessarily what she do that.
I gotta say one thing where the women can take a break when they on that like that, and you cook for yourself.
No. I'll wash myself at the evening.
There's no prayer out, y'all.
No prayer.
Let's pray out. We number our question. I mean, is everybody clear though? I want to make sure everybody is clear. No confusion.